I'm Kaylee, and today I am reviewing Bandersnatch, C.S. Lewis, J.R.R. Tolkien, and the creative collaboration of the Inklings by Diana Pavlik-Glyer. One of my goals this year was to read a Tolkien or C.S. Lewis related book every month, and so for the month of December, it is Bandersnatch. I actually listened to an audiobook of this and really enjoyed the narration. But I also kind of skimmed through and flipped through the actual book because it has some lovely illustrations. Before we dive into everything that I loved about Bandersnatch, I'm going to reach back here to our Booktuber Shoutout book, and we're going to shout out somebody randomly. Today's shout out goes to Yasmina Edina. I will leave a link to their channel in the description. Be sure to go over and subscribe to them. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to this channel if you love C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien and Lord of the Rings and Narnia. And of course, follow me over on Goodreads and Instagram and all the places. This book analyzes the inner workings of the writing group, the Inklings, showing specific examples of how they encouraged and influenced each other's writing. We learn about Lewis's and Tolkien's individual writing styles, how their group would read aloud portions of their writing, and how the process of writing, revising, and editing was intimately connected with the influence of the Inklings, despite Lewis famously saying that it was impossible to influence Tolkien. He said you might as well try to influence a Bandersnatch. This book proves Lewis wrong, giving specific examples of times when Tolkien took criticism from the Inklings very seriously and altered major sections of his writing accordingly. I really loved that this book gives specific examples of how the Inklings influenced each other, sometimes even showing the manuscript before and after revision with little notes from their fellow authors in the margins. For instance, Tolkien said that he loved Hobbit talk, but Lewis urged him to cut down on the silly Hobbit dialogue since it slowed down the plot, and Tolkien listened. His earlier manuscripts of The Lord of the Rings show a lot more Hobbit dialogue, just talking about silly little things, and a slower pace. Although there might be readers, probably myself included, who would enjoy a little more silly Hobbit talk, all of that was cut down for the final version of the book. It was really fascinating to read an early scene from The Fellowship of the Ring as the hobbits are trekking across the Shire, happily chatting amongst themselves. But in the end, only a handful of those lines were kept. Another interesting section of the book was about how the Inklings would collaborate on humorous poems, composed on the spot during walking tours and never even written down, but just recited or reeled off for their own amusement in the moment. They would also play a game of round-robin storytelling, inventing part of a story, and then the next person would have to concoct the next leg of the tale. For these creative geniuses, imagination was just like breathing. But their close friendship did not mean that they always agreed. There is a whole chapter about how the Inklings often argued and butted heads. Most famously, Tolkien did not like the Narnia books. Although Tolkien had a deep respect for Lewis, both as a writer and as a scholar, he admitted that the style of the Narnia books was just not his cup of tea, mainly because he disliked allegory so vehemently. But when Tolkien saw how popular Narnia was becoming, he acknowledged that they are deservedly very popular. There are also sections about Charles Williams with his enigmatic personality and his deep influence on each of the Inklings, and about Owen Barfield and his delightful intellectual skirmishes with Lewis. Apparently, they both loved to argue good-naturedly over everything. There's also a focus on Warren Lewis and his scholarly writings about French history. We really get to know the intimate details of how these people talked and worked and interacted. You can really tell that this book is extremely well researched. In fact, the author has published another similar book with a more scholarly tone, and then they wrote this book to be more geared toward the fans rather than scholars. So in this one, we have some fun anecdotes, and the writing style is very engaging. There is one thing that makes this book stand out from all other books about the Inklings, and that is the application. At the end of each chapter, there is a section that talks about applying the lessons we can learn from the Inklings group to your own creative group. No creative journey should be attempted alone, and we can learn from the example of the Inklings to see what works and what doesn't work, and what practices allow creativity to thrive, and what kills creativity. I just enjoyed this book so much. It really got me inspired to take on some creative projects of my own and to look about me for like-minded people to encourage me on my writing journey. If you are looking for a creative breakthrough, this book is wonderfully insightful and helpful. Or if you just want to learn more about the Inklings and their work, you will definitely discover something new in these pages. Because I have already read so many books about C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien and their biographies and other books about the Inklings, I wasn't sure if I would find anything new in this one, but I definitely did. I was very pleasantly surprised. So even if you think you already know a lot about the Inklings, let me tell you, you will find something new in this one. Please leave me a comment and let me know, what is your favorite book of Tolkien's or Lewis's, or what other books have you read by some of the maybe lesser known Inklings? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.